Now remember that I set this guide to the center of my column as well as the center of my page. I want to set up a tab to line up just 1/16 of an inch away from that center point, 3.75. Now, to do that math, what I need to do is I need to subtract 1/16 of an inch in decimal terms, 0.0625 inches away. So I'm going to move this over to hit the exact spot I'm looking for. And it doesn't allow me to do that exactly where I'm at. The number I'm actually looking for is 3.6875 inches to make that precisely 1/16 of an inch. I can't find that number as I'm moving it back and forth. Now that's no big deal. All I do is I set the tab close, and then with that tab highlighted, and I can see what that is right there, I put in the number I want, which in this case is going to be 3.6875 inches, and then hit the tab key. When I do that, you'll see it skips just a little bit, and it actually places that precisely 1/16 of an inch away from the center of our column and of our page. Now, I want that text actually to line up to the left of this, although what we're actually going to put in is a leader, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I'm going to first set that as a right justified tab with that highlighted, and what it'll do is it'll put that in as I click on this, just like so, and the little tail will go to the left, just as I can see right here on the ruler. I want to set an underline leader, so what I'm going to do in the spot where I can see that flashing cursor, just to the right of my number, is I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to press the button just to the right of the 0 on the typewriter side of my keyboard, just like so, to lay an underline down, and then hit the Tab key. And when I do so, you'll see that it lines that up 1/16 of an inch away, that I've actually got that tab that's built in. Now, with that, we've allowed that to put in our leader and define the space that we're going to allow people to write in information for their name, the city, state, the phone number, etc. What we also need to do is we need to line this information up to the left. So I'm going to place a second tab, 1/16 of an inch, just to the right of the center of that column and of our page. I'm going to click over here just like so, and you'll notice once again I can't hit exactly that number. When I bring that in to 3.75, really what I want to do is I want to take this to break that 3.8125, and I can't exactly hit that number. That's no big deal. All I do is bring that in, and then once I've got that set, I highlight that number and make it exactly what I want with numerical control. So it'll be 3.8125, and when I hit the Tab key, it's going to line everything up exactly where I want it. Well, not exactly. You'll notice over here that it remembered the setting that we had for the previous tab. That's the way InDesign works. So after we place that second tab, we want to change this to a left justified tab. And when we do so, you'll see that that type skips nicely right over to the other side of that tab area. The tail goes the way that the type's going to go. We need to create one more tab so we can create underlined areas to the right of address, zip, and email, just like the one that we have right here after name. So I'm going to place one more tab on the ruler, and once again how I do that is I go into this area just above the ruler, this blank white area, and I'm just going to place a tab, in this case, right at 7 1/4 inches. Just as we had before, you'll see that that holds the settings of the previous tab. So what I want to do here is I'm going to take that and I'm going to make that a right justified tab. I'm going to take this leader and I'm again going to hold the Shift key down and I'm going to hit the key just to the right of the 0 on the typewriter side of the keyboard to place an underline and hit the Tab key. And I've got the underlines for address, zip, and email just like I have for name, city, state, and phone. I want to line this up all the way over to the right side margin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the mouse button down on that highlighted tab. And when I do, you'll see it gives a little line that shows exactly where it lines up. I'm going to move that till it sets perfectly on the right side margin, just like so, to the right of that right margin area as I'm looking at the arrow that points to the left just above my tab ruler. And when I let go of the mouse button, it'll line that all the way up across the page. So it's very easy for me to set these tabs and make this work. I'm going to now go back to the Fit in Window view by going Control-0, and you'll notice that in this case nothing happens, and there's a reason for that. And that reason is because the last thing I clicked on was in the tabs ruler. I'm not in the document itself. So to go back to that Fit in Window view, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click anywhere inside the page and away from that tabs ruler. Let's go back to the Fit in Window view by pressing Control-0 on Windows, Command-0 on the Mac. Now it takes that page and it brings it back to that Fit in Window view. I'm going to close this. We're going to go back and do some more tab alignment in just a little bit. But what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to set this up to make the type frame no larger than I need. And this is, as we said before, good practice whenever you're working with Adobe InDesign. There's no reason that any of these text frames or graphic frames you create should take up any more space than absolutely necessary on the page. This makes it much easier for us to line and space up separate elements when we're working within InDesign. We're going to do this one more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the File pull-down menu. I'm going to go to Place. You can use the keyboard shortcut Control-D if you're working on a Windows PC, or Command-D if you're working on a Mac. And what we're going to do in this case is we're going to take the payment information. I'm going to double-click on that RTF file, or Rich Text Format document. Oops, made a mistake. I had that highlighted. As we've said before, that's no big deal. What we can do is we can simply go Edit, Undo. Keyboard shortcut for that is Control-Z on a Windows machine, Command-Z when you're working on a Mac. And when you select that, what it'll do is it'll bring the previous text back. And what I can do now is I can take that text that was in the place gun and I can put it on screen. I'm going to move it down to about, we'll say 5 inches deep against that left side margin. Click the mouse button, and what this has is all the information that we had built in before. So with this set, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my text tool, click anywhere in the text, it really doesn't matter, and we're going to set all this type below to match up with what we had up above for our address information. So I'm going to go Control-A since I'm working on a Windows PC to highlight it all. You'd go Command-A if you're working on a Mac. You'll see that type set for 14 point on 30 point. That's exactly what we want to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up tabs to match up with what we'd set above. So once again, we want to go and set this zoom percentage so we can see all the way across the page with a little bit of extra space. What I did here was I moved that in to 150%, and we're going to take this information that we've got right here and we're going to set the tab ruler to line up here and here for exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to go Control-Shift-T as in Tom to bring up my tab ruler once again. If you're working on a Mac, that keyboard shortcut would be Command-Shift-T. And you'll see these tabs aren't quite where we'd like them to be. They are loaded in though. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to move this cursor over here for my first column, right align tab, and set it exactly where I want it, that 3.6875, to move it 1/16 of an inch away. Then I'm going to take this left align and I'm going to move it over to set it 1/16 of an inch away from the center. Now again, what that should be is we're working with this, that should be 8125. And as we do that, it lines up precisely where we want things to be. We've got a little bit more work to do to line up things like what we want for the check, the money order, and the credit card, as well as what we're going to do for the shipping information down below. But we're going to do that in the next unit of our InDesign CS6 course.